Hey guys, the Chief Ash here today to do another edition of OctoberQuest, 31 Days, 31 Reviews. Today I'm continuing my little mini-series situation that has been going on slowly throughout the month, and I will be reviewing Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. So, once again, I'm a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I'm biased to most of these movies, but I can admit that, you know, when they lack in quality and such, and so far I've been kind of going down to up on the scale of quality of these movies, the trend may continue, but Nightmare on Elm Street 4 marks a point in the series where the movies got sold from artistic, you know, integrity to MTV. As you know, the mainstream media and all that back in the time that these movies were being made was MTV, and that's kind of where all the teenagers circled around it. So the idea of Nightmare on Elm Street was kind of sold over to that crowd. You replace your actual horror story, you become kind of more of a horror comedy. You replace the horror story more with so you'll have some more gruesome deaths to continue like the horror aspect of it, but you're gonna see more puns, more naked naked women and things like that, more so than in some of the other movies. They are there. I'm not saying they're not, but it increases. It's mainly to appeal to the male and teens of the late 80s, early 90s, and it's 4, 5, and 6 all suffer from this disease. All the ones below it have more of an artistic flair to them, in my opinion, and most people's opinions. The only one in the first 3 movies, three movies that people have problems with is Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which, though it has flaws, it didn't fall victim to what 4, 5, and 6 fell victim to. So this movie starts off, and you know it's going to start off, because it starts off with this blonde girl, and she's like running through, and she's worried that Freddy's coming back. And so, going backwards on the list, if you guys have been watching these reviews in order, it's not uncommon in the series for the characters to just automatically know who Freddy is. Well, this is sort of the movie that started that, because this particular instance, for any onlooker, anyone watching this movie for the first time ever will watch that and just see random blonde girl. Well, random blonde girl is actually playing Patricia Arquette's character from Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And there's absolutely no indication of that until she freaks out in her dream, thinks Freddy's coming back, and calls in Kincaid and Joey, who are 2 characters from Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And when you get that, they appear and you're like, oh, that's supposed to be Kristen from Nightmare on Elm Street 3. That's supposed to be Patricia Arquette's character. And she looks, literally the only similarity between the 2 women are they're both blonde. They have different hairstyles, different facial structures. The chicken number 4, she's much shorter. It's very apparent that it's a different person. And then they have the original actors from Nightmare on Elm Street 3 for Kincaid and Joey, so it almost accents the fact that they couldn't get back Patricia Arquette. So it's like just right off the bat, it has that as a problem. The movie has points. It has interesting things. This is the last one where they have a rather, other than one could argue that Freddy vs. Jason has kind of a neat way to bring Freddy back. In that one, it's more driven. And this is the last, but between 5 and 6 of the actual Nightmare on Elm Street series, not including New Nightmare, this is the last one that had an interesting way to bring Freddy back. But it wasn't even that interesting. It was actually rather vague. But they bring him back, and they just decide that it actually really doesn't go into how they kill him. It just kind of happens upon a fact that she gets to kill him. It's no surprise. There's the 5 and 6 sequels. So, the only thing, the movie is very aimed at teens and things like that. It's got a soundtrack. Every song's about dreams, but every song is essentially like a move to push, a band of some sort onto, the people who would be watching this. So it's very driven in that sense. It's very product placement-y. A lot of Freddy's speech is kind of like it becomes very centered around puns and things like this, and will be through 5 and 6, as I pointed out in previous reviews. But one thing, I've seen this movie a few times. I've watched the whole series multiple times. And this watch, it kind of made me think, though, and this could be something you could look into. I'm not saying the movie's good. This is definitely where the movie started going downhill. I would give it, like, in a scale of 100, I'd give it upper 40s, lower 50s. But it has a little bit of integrity in certain ways, and one way you could view this movie to make it interesting, I didn't give anything for 5 and 6 because the plot kind of goes out of the window in that one. This one still has a more of a central story, and this is the movie before the acting stopped being acting. It started getting really hammy, and it was whoever they could get. This is obviously a whoever they can afford situation, but Patricia Arquette did ask for more money, and then wouldn't pay it, and then in a result they went downhill from it. But at the time, upon release of all the movies, this movie actually made more money than all the other ones. But anyway, a way to watch this movie and find it more interesting is to think that to be of the mindset. Once again, this is something to carry to watch it. It's very interesting. This is actually how I watched it this time because I was thinking about it before watching it. Think of this movie as Alice wants all this to happen. Alice is the main character. She gets pulled in by Kristen from number 3, because in number 3, which I will do that review later. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is probably my favorite in this series, so I've been holding off on doing that one. But so Kristen, she can pull people in to her dreams. And it makes sense why it comes in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and it obviously carries over into this because the character did. And at a point, she passes that power on to Alice, who is the main character of this movie. And Alice is very, as an actress, her character, and that's the thing, as I can't chalk this up as bad acting because it's hard for me to tell whether or not it was on purpose, but she seemed very timid, and it worked for the character for a while. And then even when Freddy was on screen, she was still very soft and very gentle, and not like oblivious to the scared thing. It almost comes across as like a sociopath kind of thing if you think about it. So watch this movie with the mindset that Alice is essentially wanting all this to happen, and that makes the ending of the movie even more interesting. So maybe watching it like that will give you some sort of view. This is Nightmare on Elm Street 4: The Dream Master. It's worth the watch, especially if you're watching through the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and if you want to analyze it, this is one of the movies in the series that you can bite your teeth into at least a little bit. 1, 2, and 3 have a little bit more meat there, and of course, A New Nightmare is one in its own league. So it's very much something you can check out. Nightmare on Elm Street 4: The Dream Master. This has been the Chief Ash on said movie, and at least I gave you something to kind of think about when you watch it. So you should totally check it out just for that. Let me know how that comes to you, or if you have any neat ideas of how the plot works. But anyways, this has been the Chief Ash, and keep watching.